caregivers are, to me, like one of the backbones of our communities. We are really building a community. We're really building a community for caregivers. Like sometimes I laugh to myself because I come up with even more to do and I'm like, stop, okay? Let's handle what we have on our plate and not add anything else. Join a support group, find, other people who are going through a similar struggle. Be intentional about self-care.
What drives someone to change the world? Welcome to Social Trailblazers, where we seek to answer just that question. Join Kelly Hernandez, CEO of Nonprofit Marketing Nerds, as she interviews leading social innovators and nonprofit changemakers. This podcast is brought to you by DonorBox, the easiest way for nonprofits to rock their online donations.
So, Veronica, I know that you've had a lot of life shifts and changes to where you are now with Dementia Care Warriors. But at one point in time, you were the marketing director in Chicago. Tell me more about what you're doing now.
So I am now a full-time caregiver for my mom. And I'm also the founder of Dementia Care Warriors, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization who provides resources and support to dementia family caregivers.
And that's a big transition, right? And, and right before we were recording, I'll confess, you did share with me how old you are. That's a big transition at this stage in your life. What do you think was the most maybe impactful change with that transition? Because you also moved locations.
Yes. I think that, for lack of a better word, there's good and bad. Like, I don't want to say bad, but there's good and bad. The good is I am like just in a different space in life with I've figured out what my passion is in life, and helping others, and my purpose in helping people, caregivers and people who are going through the situation that I'm in, and understanding their needs and what would be helpful to them. So that has been a complete shift from Chicago, single bachelorette, not caring for anyone but myself, working a corporate job and traveling and, doing all those things, to coming here and now focusing on not just myself, but on others too. So that has definitely been a big change.
Yeah. And I will claim I'm a huge Instagram fan, and I do appreciate all of the support you give to, I think, other individuals in the similar situation that are caregivers. And, for myself and my family, my father was the caregiver to his mother who had dementia. So I really all the work you do, and not just caring for your mother, but really, I think, building a huge community of care is amazing. What motivated you to start Dementia Care Warriors?
So I was in Chicago for 10 years. I was coming back and forth, helping my mom take care of my grandmother. And then eventually my mom was diagnosed as well. Long story short, I moved back home and took care of both of them. So that was the early stage of my journey. And so coming from this life in Chicago with a corporate job, social life, out and about, to the suburbs of Dallas was a complete culture shift for me. And so at some point I'm like, I need to get out the house. I need to find something to do with myself, because I also wasn't working because I left my career. And so I started volunteering at the Alzheimer's Association, ended up eventually serving on the board of the Dallas chapter of the Alzheimer's Association, and just started networking and making all kinds of connections in this space. And at some point I was getting access to a lot of resources that I realized that the people in my community didn't know existed. And, I kind of started being a resource for friends and family who were in the same situation. And I found some amazing, free things and, education, et cetera. And I started sharing them with other people. And again, recognizing that the programming that I was seeing and finding and searching out, they didn't know about it. And so I started sharing those things. I also started a support group. And so another thing that I saw that was missing was all the support groups I was going to were pretty sad, not very diverse in age or race, and not a lot of people that look like me. So I started a support group happy hour where we would meet at a Mexican restaurant once a month and in a more laid back kind of fun environment. Still the same premise of a support group, supporting each other, sharing resources, venting, learning new ways to think about things or look at things that we were all going through, finding people who could relate to us. So still a support group, but just in a more fun and laid back environment. And, some things work for some people, some things work for others. So that's what I found, was working for us. So those couple things are what kind of got started.
Okay. And then, this is how, I talk to a lot of nonprofit founders, which is what you are, right? Mm-hmm. And for so many nonprofit founders, that there's an idea for a thing. And I'm like, well, is there a need for a thing? And you, like you said, you were looking around support groups being like, there aren't people that look like me in really any of the right, like age, race. There aren't a lot of people that look like me sitting at this table. That isn't really a vibe that I like. I don't have that much time away from home. This isn't really the dynamic I want to engage in. So you saw a need first and created the support group. That was the beginning of Dementia Care Warriors then? Mm-hmm. That support group?
Yep. Okay. One of the support groups before I got the 501c3. I also did an event in my church before I became a formal nonprofit in partnership with the Alzheimer's Association. And so we brought an education workshop to my church before I was official or anything like that. And it kind of all of these things helped me realize, I could kind of formalize this and actually grow it and do more,
Yeah. And I mean, you say do more. I know you're a primary caregiver. I also feel like externally, right? I'm a social media fan of yours. Externally, I feel like you're out and about in the community doing so much engagement, advocacy work. Like you say, connecting. There's often barriers to access to resources, and you're kind of serving as a connector for a lot of people, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How do you juggle all of that?
That's a very good question. I don't know, Kelly. Like sometimes I laugh to myself because I come up with even more to do and I'm like, stop. Okay. Let's handle what we have on our plate and not add anything else. But it really does, again, boil back to being a caregiver myself. You know what I mean? And just thinking of needs that I have as a caregiver that I think would be nice, as a caregiver. One thing we do is a holiday gift basket giveaway. And so we literally surprise caregivers on their doorsteps during the holiday season to just bring some joy, and it's a gift basket and it has a $200 Visa gift card on it. And it's so they can go do something nice for themselves. I would love that. You know what I mean? Like think about
goosebumps. Yeah, that's amazing.
And like the reactions are always just so amazing. And they're always so grateful, because a lot of times people are thinking about the care recipient, and not about the actual caregivers and what we're going through. So it's just nice to be thought of.
And you're currently based in, you said Dallas suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're also doing you do some advocacy work related to funding on a larger scale. Tell me a little bit more about. I actually think I've started this before Dementia Care Warriors. I've been in this space for a long time, even without DCW. That's how passionate I am about it. But I have been to DC and been to Austin to advocate with the Alzheimer's Association for their advocacy forum. And so they take an annual trip specifically to Washington, D.C. with hundreds of advocates from around the country. And they schedule meetings for us with our local legislators to talk about funding, to talk about just support that we need. And so we sit there face to face with them in their chambers on Capitol Hill, and we share our stories. We share whatever the priorities are for that session and just try to get them to get on board and to support, because this is not a political issue. So we talk to people from all sides, of this. This is definitely something that affects everyone across the board. And so that's our goal. They train us. We go through a training the day we get there on what the priorities are, what would be helpful, what to say, et cetera, how to share our stories. I've been several times, so it's I'm
kind of a veteran at it now, but it's just really a great way to get involved, on a higher level.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by DonorBox, the online fundraising platform that streamlines your process, elevates your donations, and ensures a user-friendly experience for your supporters. Explore the world of simplified, seamless fundraising at donorbox.org today.
So I do wonder I know you do this every day in your advocacy work, but like you said yourself, dementia and care and the needs of caregivers related to dementia specifically impacts kind of all people right around the world. But so I think this is applicable to a lot of people. I know it would have been for my father. What practical advice would you give to a caregiver, maybe especially a new caregiver that doesn't quite know what they're getting into yet?
The one main thing I say is being intentional about everything, because when you're so overwhelmed, caregivers are isolated. They don't have a lot of resources, not necessarily a lot of knowledge or education on, this topic. You have to be intentional about seeking those things out. So the number one thing I say is to be intentional, to find these resources, join a support group, find, other people who are going through a similar struggle, be intentional about self-care, and understand that self-care doesn't have to be a trip to Jamaica. Self-care can be a 10-minute walk, around your neighborhood. It could be a jam session in your car to your favorite music. So many things. Self-care for me sometimes is going to Costco by myself.
Okay.
To slowly roam the aisles, go up and down the aisles and take my time and not be rushed because, my mom is with me or getting back to a sitter or, so just understanding that, self-care doesn't have to be that something major. Be intentional about taking care of yourself and your health. And so making sure that you are getting to your doctor's appointments as much as you're making sure that your loved one is getting to theirs. And last but not least, being intentional about asking for help. A lot of people try to do this by themselves, and I guarantee it's not something that can be done successfully by yourself.
And I'm going to put you on the spot a little. So I always say, take the advice you give. Who do you go to for help and support?
Who do I go to? I mean, mostly friends. I have friends who I talk to every day, all day, that I can call up and vent or share. I also say I benefit from our programs as well. As a caregiver, we have a monthly support group that I look forward to every month to be able to get together with our caregivers and chat and talk and share. And then also therapy. Finding a good therapist is also a very practical way to have someone to share and get through this time.
And is your support group still at the Mexican restaurant?
We move around. Around because that Mexican restaurant doesn't have happy hour anymore. So we move around to different spots. And I also I'm very budget conscious. I try to be in all the things that we do, and so I'm not gonna take people out to a place where they're paying $15 for drinks,
Right. Yeah.
So no, we don't go there anymore, but we kind of move around.
Okay. That Mexican restaurant should have kept their happy hour for you guys.
I know, so nice.
Offline, tell me who it is, and I will let them know. Yeah. Too funny. So one of the things I think, again, I'll go back and for people that are listening now, and a lot of what Veronica says speaks to you, make sure to follow Dementia Care Warriors on Instagram. I know at the end of the episode, listen to the end and we'll give more links. But one of the things that I think is so amazing about you as a woman and as a leader is that it does appear that you have a lot of responsibility. Like you take a lot of ownership of, and one of the things I think I've seen you say or write a couple different times, a couple different ways is something about seeing a personal responsibility to have a seat at the table when conversations are happening. And that there should be a voice for caregivers who are not usually able to advocate for themselves. What what drives you to keep doing that? That's even for me, like trying to like that sounds that's a lot of work and commitment. What drives you to keep going?
I mean, I think it in some ways comes natural for me. And like, even I think about like the boards that I sit on or that I've sat on, I'm a lot of times the only person of color in the room, and if I'm not there, then that group has no or very little thought about what they need to do to help people that don't look like them per se. And it's really easy to just worry about, yourself and, people who are in your little bubble and not recognize that there are other people out here who need help. So, I just know it's something, that needs to be done. I know it's something and I know that your average caregiver is at home drowning. Right. You know what I mean? Like they don't have the space to be in DC, talking to legislators, trying to get them to put more money towards Alzheimer's and dementia support. So, I mean, it's in some ways, and just like being a caregiver, someone has to do it, I mean, why not me?
Oh, that's thank you for all you do. That is amazing. And yeah. So I know there are a lot of, and I don't want to say a lot because it's oversimplifying, but there are a variety of organizations that focus on Alzheimer's. I think we're already kind of leading like this is maybe an easy, but what makes Dementia Care Warriors different?
I think several things. One of them is that we are really building a community. We're really building a community for caregivers. There are, other organizations, you go to a one-off event and that's it.
Right.
You might go to another event in a few months or, what have you. I am trying to build an actual community and connecting caregivers to caregivers so that they also, have each other and not just the organization. And then the other piece that's different is we just do things in a different way. So we have an event called Revive Refresh. It's our annual caregiver conference. And I say it's not your typical caregiver conference because this is a day that we have to pour into caregivers. Typical conference is a bunch of speakers speaking at you, some education resources. And not that those are not helpful, right, but I think there are more engaging ways to do things and more, just interesting and exciting ways to do things. So we have a live DJ. I have a massage therapist doing chair massages. I have a catered brunch that not your typical box lunches, but actually a full catered brunch. I have giveaways and raffles throughout the day. We have a vendor resource fair. And just, each year we add elements. We also have on-site respite care during the event where one of our community partners runs the respite care. So if you need to bring your loved one, you can, because a lot of times that, is something that people can't attend stuff because they don't have anyone to watch their loved one. So we offer on-site respite care. And so we just do things, again, kind of in a different way, back to support groups. Mm-hmm. Go to a support group in the community room, at the community center, or at church. Not necessarily go to a support group at a Mexican restaurant. You know what I mean? So just we do things a lot differently. And it's my background, my professional background, as we mentioned earlier, is marketing and events and branding. And so I've kind of brought that along with me.
Nonprofit and association leaders, I've got a secret weapon for you. Imagine sitting down for just 30 minutes, yes, 30, and walking away with a treasure chest of marketing gold. Polished videos, scroll-stopping reels, compelling blogs, and share-worthy social posts. That's the Content Lab, where our team of marketing nerds transforms your mission into magic. You bring your expertise, and we'll handle the rest. Ready to feel like a marketing wizard? Visit nonprofit-nerd.com and check out the Content Lab. Type discount 200 at checkout to grab your $200 discount. Limited time only. Catch you in the lab. The Content Lab.
Okay, cool. And where is that event located? Because I know for listeners, all over the world, but especially in North America. But where is this event located? Is it when is it? Is it open to everyone? When does it?
So Revive Refresh is our annual event, and it's typically the first weekend in August. And so just follow us for, location details. Each year I try to do bigger and better,
Okay.
so who knows where we'll be next year, but it's definitely in August. Another innovative program that we have is Faces of Care Warriors.
Oh, I don't know this.
And so that is actually coming up next weekend. But we do a professional photo shoot with caregivers and their loved ones. And like literally in a photo studio, professional photographer, kind of make them the stars for the day. And then we blow up the photos into these beautiful black and white portraits. And it's a social awareness campaign, in some ways for caregiving, for Alzheimer's education, dementia education, and for Dementia Care Warriors. And so I know this is dated, but in November, typically the first weekend in November, we host an event where we celebrate these caregivers who are a part of this exhibit. And the exhibit then goes on tour. And so it'll be at Dallas Public Library for National Family Caregiver Month. So that, again, awareness, with the community. I think what happens with caregiving is, again, people are very much focused on the loved one, and not the caregiver, and not understanding the essential role that caregivers play in the loved one's lives, in our healthcare system, in our communities. Because without family caregivers, our loved ones would be in the healthcare system, would likely be in and out of the hospital so much more, which is, a financial situation. So caregivers are, to me, like one of the backbones of our communities.
Yeah. And I do think and again, I asked earlier about, what makes your organization unique. And I think it's the authentic approach to caregivers who are an often overlooked, right? Group of people. So no, yeah. And I do appreciate, and for people that do not follow you, I do also appreciate your honesty. Sometimes people, especially the founders of nonprofits, want to only put out like the perfect front. And right. I think you do a wonderful job, like you said, of creating, it's probably your marketing background, of authentic community and sharing like the real behind the scenes of daily life. So I want to thank you, I guess, not as a follower, but as someone that I know by you showing up authentically, you're helping.
Thank you.
More situations connect.
There are lots of vloggers who literally like vlog every day of the caregiving experience. And it might be generational. I think I'm just above that. Like I'm geriatric millennial, Gen X.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like it's that much exciting things going on over here that I need to record everything. But, there are times when I'm like, oh, this is, let me capture this or let me capture that. Just to add, some insight into this is real life,
So I know it sounds like, I want to go back to your founder story. So you saw a need for yourself, so created something that, right, then became a thing. When did you know, when did you go from I'm creating a support group to like, I am creating a nonprofit that has a mission that's separate from me that is going to solve this problem? When did that shift happen for you?
Good question. I'm trying to figure out what was that trigger that made me, clearly I was a caregiver for many years and I was involved in, again, speaking and whatnot and volunteering before I did this. I think one thing was just wanting to do more, you know what I mean? Like, and wanting to have the resources to do more. So we were founded in November 2019, or we got our 501c3 November 2019. And I immediately started planning the first Revive Refresh for March 2020. So I partnered with one of my community partners, and that's the big event I just mentioned, and we were going to do it. But, March 2020, we all know what happened. But that was like, I immediately went into like go mode. Let's see what are we going to do? Let's see how many can we get? And when we finally were able to do that event in person, maybe 2022, because we did virtual 2020, virtual 2021, and then finally in 2022. It was such an amazing day. We had a packed house. Everyone stayed the entire time. Like, it was just something that I feel like our community was really needing, And I think when we host events, when we have, events like that, when we have support group meetings and talking to caregivers after these events, lets me know that I'm on the right path and that we really are serving a purpose,
Yeah. And, you are. And I've been far away, and actually I've never met you in real life, but I'm such a follower that I feel like I know you already. So thank you so much for running your time and for sharing your passion. And I want to, I guess, emphasize it with Dementia Care Warriors, because as a nonprofit nerd, I see this a lot where there are founders, like, you are really doing great work that has a mission that's going to go beyond you as a founder. And like, I think it's so cool. And I think that it's so important. And so I just want to thank you for that. For people that are listening and want to connect with you, where can they connect with you?
So you can connect with us on our website, dementiacarewarriors.org. Definitely go join our email list so you can stay in the loop. We're actually, in the new year, we have some big plans with some new things coming out that will be open to people even outside of our local area. So it will be some resources and support in that way. So definitely join our email list so you can stay in the loop on that. And then also, of course, on Instagram and Facebook, you can follow us at Care Warriors. And so we would love to have you join our community. Can I say one more thing? Just about like the impact and me like being confirmed and knowing that this is what I should be doing is, this has been a 5-year journey, which is our 5th year. We celebrate our 5th birthday this year. And last year I attended the funeral of the mother of one of the caregivers in our program. And just went for support, and so I had a funeral program, and I'm reading the back of the funeral program, and in the thank yous, the first line of her thank you says, "I would like to thank Dementia Care Warriors for their support." And I was like, wow, like they thought, her family thought enough of us and the support that we've provided, over her mother's journey, that they actually put forth the effort to thank us in writing, you know what I mean? On the program. So I was like, that was like really a really touching moment for me.
Yeah. Well, no, thank you for sharing that. And thank you for sharing what you do. Thank you for being most importantly, thank you for being a social trailblazer.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. And thank you for your following and support. Because sometimes social media, you put stuff out there, you don't know who's watching, anybody cares. You're just like, I'm just going to share, Yeah. So thank you. And thank you for what you do in helping nonprofits to navigate this space.
Absolutely. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Social Trailblazers. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who are passionate about making a difference. Special thanks to our sponsor, DonorBox, for supporting this podcast and the incredible work of nonprofits everywhere. Join us next time as we continue to dive deep into the motivations of the change makers shaping our world. Until then, keep trailblazing.